Hi there, Nigel Saunders here. The cold weather continues here. It's minus 18 outside right now, and it'll be dropping down to minus 22 again tonight. I'm going to be working on several projects today. I finally found a tripod head that I can use for my overhead light. I'm going to be finishing my pot to make it look like a ceramic pot. And I'm going to be continuing with my bonsai updates. So it's time to get to work here in the Bonsai Zone. I've already got the legs removed from the tripod. I just unscrewed them from the pivot points. So I'm going to mount it upside down. I've got these clamps that'll screw to my wooden beam on my overhead Canadarm. And then I'll be able to loosen this off and raise and lower my light. And I'll also be able to tilt it. So I should be able to get any kind of angle I want to light something on my table here. Here's my Canadarm that I can swing around and position almost anywhere in the room. So I'll be mounting my tripod head right up here. I'll start by removing the light. And I'll drill some holes and mount my tripod on this face. I've got my wrist joint mounted to the Canadarm now, so I can loosen this lever off and lower it down. And I can also tilt it. So it should work quite well. I've got my mounting point for my elbow finished up here, all sealed in with tape. So the next step will be to mount the light to the tripod head. To do that, I'm going to use a hose clamp, a rather large one, and I'll put it around the tripod head like this, and the light will fit right in there. So I've just got to file some grooves in the back of the head so the hose clamp doesn't slip out. I've got the Soltech Aspect grow light all mounted now, so I can position it vertically on an angle, turn it around, and I can lower it up and down. So I can pretty well get any lighting angle that I want. Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. Flip the switch and turn your grow light on. 10, 9, 8, 7. Ground control to 6, Major Tom. 5. 4, commencing countdown, 3, engines 2, on. 1. It's time now to continue painting my 3D printed bonsai pot. I was originally going to make a crackle finish on this pot. I was going to paint a layer of this folk art crackle finish paint and then put another layer over top, and then as it dries, it dries to a crackle finish. But I'm thinking maybe that's not what I want for this pot. I think I want more of the look of kind of a dripping glaze on it. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do is wet the pot with thinner and then splatter paint on it, and it'll kind of run down and blend in and look quite nice, I think. So I think I'm going to give that a try, and I'll use this crackle finish on another pot. I'll put some newspapers down underneath my pot to kind of stop getting paint splattered all over my table. I'm going to use 2 brushes. I'll use the thick one for painting the thinner on the pot, and then I'll use this finer brush for flicking the paint to get that splatter type finish. I don't want to get that splattered paint on the inside of the pot. I want to keep it clean and looking like clay. So I'll fill the pot with tissues or something to stuff it so I don't get any paint on the inside. So I've used some Kleenex in the bottom, and I'm just putting some masking tape around the edges here. I finished masking it. You can see kind of my rough edge, which should look okay. All right, let's get started. Okay, here I go. This is the light gray color that I chose to make my speckles on top of the olive drab color. So I'm going to start with my thinner layer. And we'll put a layer of thinner on the top of the paint. Like that. And then I'll dip my brush into the paint here. And I'll see if I can stipple it, or not stipple. It doesn't really spray. I might have to dapple it on. Let's see how that works. Then I can always run more thinner over top. I think that's looking good. It's kind of running in with the thinner. I don't want to make it too light, this coating. I mean, if it doesn't work out, I can always go over with more olive color and kind of blend it in a little more. I'm going to put it a little heavier on the lip here. How's that looking? That's looking okay. Let's get some more thinner on and keep going around. So I'm doing this edge now. Okay. Some thinner on the back side here. This is all very experimental. I'm just trying to, can you see that? I'm trying to get my little more feathering, vertical kind of streaking on the gray. Now, gotta go around and have a look at it all. Make sure it's looking okay. Touching up certain spots that aren't quite what I imagined. Just doing the inner lip now a bit. Kind of trying to blend it in so it looks smooth and flowing. Just touching up the lip on the front, just giving it a highlighting in a bit. While we're waiting for the paint to dry, let's get to today's first update. The first tree we'll be looking at today is my aloe bonsai. Let's go in and have a look at it. I'm really pleased with how well this aloe has developed as a bonsai tree. It's getting lots of branching. All these branches you see are just branches off the main trunk. I don't think it'll be any problem getting a nice crown on top of the tree to have it look like a quiver tree. The quiver trees in Africa are a type of an aloe tree, and they grow into a giant tree form. So that's the style I'm going to copy with this aloe plant. I'm going to start today by pruning off some of the lower leaves to take some of the weight off the main trunk. I'm going to use my pruners to remove the leaves. I've had people write in that say you can just pull them off, but I'm just afraid if I use that method I may damage some buds and I may not get as good a branching on the trunk. So I find by cutting them just close to the base, like that, the remains of the leaf kind of dries up and falls off fairly quickly, within a week. So I'll just remove these lower leaves, like so. They look like octopi legs. I think that's pretty good for the main trunk. Next, I'll remove some of the lower leaves on some of the branches. These branches will probably get removed in the final design. I'm just leaving them on, learning from them. You can see a root that's grown out over the lip of the pot here. Very strong branch back here. Oh, I can see all the roots in there. Here's a close-up of those nice surface roots forming. That should make a nice base to the tree eventually. This is my other aloe. I have, I think, 7 other big aloes like this. This is the one that flowered. It got a long flower stalk coming out the top, and it got little tiny yellow flowers all over it. So it's growing really well. So well that I think I'm going to create an aloe forest eventually. So like a quiver tree forest that you would see in Africa. I always thought my yucca forest would be the most unusual bonsai forest I have, but I think my aloe forest, or my quiver tree forest, will be even more unusual looking. Just a light trimming to my aloe bonsai today. We'll put it back on the bench and get out another tree. My next update is my Ficus elasticas, or my Indian rubber trees. I have 2 trees. I have a single trunk and a clump style that I planted. I cut the leader off on my single trunk, and I've got 1, 2, 3 new branches just below the cut point. You can also see the importance of getting a nice radial root spread. You can see the trunk flare starting to form here. It's thicker at the base, and that was achieved by removing the taproot and letting all the surface radial roots feed the tree. So it really thickens up the base of your tree and gives you a nice taper. Here's the base of my clump style Ficus elastica. These are all cuttings that were wrapped together and planted as a single tree, and now they're all kind of fusing together and looking like a clump style bonsai. It too is getting nice branching up top. That'll be the start of the canopy. It's amazing how well the Ficus elastica puts out aerial roots. You can see how long these are from just one growing season. With all my cuttings that I've got going, I may try and make a living miniature bridge someday. In October of 2016, I made a video called Starting 3 New Bonsai Trees, so let's catch up with them. The first tree I'll update is my 2 little leaf Ficus benjamina. It was just a small little tree. I had cut the top off, and all this is new growth. There's not much work to do on the tree right now. I'm just going to let it grow for another season to build up its strength, and then we'll start pruning it. The next one of the 3 trees that I started in the video has become part of my African landscape here. It's this tree right here. This tree is still very young as a bonsai. It's just starting to get some shape to the canopy, and the branch structure is slowly improving. It did originally have a branch coming up here. If you can see the stub that's left, that branch just died off by itself. I didn't prune it off or anything. So it's just like a dead stump there now, which looks quite realistic with these, you know, copies of acacia trees. These trees are all Cericifotidas, and they're trained to look like African acacia trees. The last of the 3 trees isn't really doing very well. I had it tucked back in the corner. The moss really grew long and I really couldn't tell if it was being watered or not. So I think I've got to prune my moss down and get it in a better location, and hopefully it'll recover. I'll start with the moss, just cutting it away, or maybe I should just pull it off, I don't know. Actually, I think I'm just going to pull it all the way off. Yeah. It's just really thick. It could recover, but this will allow me to see the soil better, and I can water it properly. When the moss gets really thick like that, it's hard to tell if it needs water or not. When you keep your moss trimmed, it's easy to tell because the surface of the moss starts to dry out a bit. Let's give the tree a nice watering. I find that these 2 little leaf Ficus benjamina bonsais don't grow very well using natural light from the windows. They really need a grow light above them to get them to grow really healthy through the winter. I found that with my other Ficus benjaminas too, that they really don't like the low light situations. They prefer to have a grow light above them. I'll move the tree to a better location and see if I can get its health back. It's time now to get back to our painted bonsai pot. The pot's pretty well dry now. It's just a little bit sticky in some areas, but I'm going to remove my masking on the inside first. So here I go. Here's a shot of my 3D bonsai pot, all done and painted and ready for our tree. I'll be doing lots more 3D printing in the future and try out all kinds of different paint schemes on the pots, different techniques. We'll get that crackle finish on a pot, and I want to kind of weather my white plastic pots to look like marble. This is the end of the series of bonsai updates and more 3D printing. I'm Nigel Saunders. I hope you had fun today in the Bonsai Zone.